Welcome back to LinkedIn Logs, the jobs podcast and business podcast for the website, cpluscomedy.com. Like I just said, it's a website. Go there. Welcome back. This is episode 104. I did have to look and see what show I was recording. We have a lot to talk about. Let's just get into it. As soon as I finish recording the Constitutionals last week, I do one more story about Paramount, Skydance, and Warner Brothers, and suddenly, as we all know, Paramount, Skydance, and Warner Brothers have agreed on that deal, that Hail Mary of a deal, and now HBO Max is going to be merged into Paramount Plus. There's Paramount Plus is going to Paramount Skydance is going to be running Warner Brothers. We're going to see a lot of layoffs. No, there's no way to spin this. We're going to see a huge change in HBO and Cartoon Network and CNN. CNN is going to start veering way more right than it already has since Mark Thompson took over. And it's this is, and also just for the industry as a whole, this is bad. But no one seems to care. And the real winner of this is Netflix. They got their $2 billion breakup deal, and that's pretty much it. Now this was them dating outside of their comfort zone. Their relationship didn't work out. Now they're going to stay with supermodels. They were dating down. You know what? She broke my heart. Oh God. So let's get into it. They've already had discussions about this stuff. Hold on, I have to close an email. This comes from Deadline. It's written by Nelly and Driva. David Zaslav tries to sell Paramount Deadline to shocked and disappointed employees at Town Hall. Quote, "We're the envy of all the industry." Again, he's going to be a billionaire at the end of this. So no matter what happens, he's going to be fine. And his peons, the people that work for him, are not. There's no way around this. There's a 20-minute WBD Zoom Town Hall discussion on this past Friday. Everybody was feeling very, very bad. I'll tell you, I've been in some Warner town halls, and not all of them were happy. They started by walking staffers through the process of Paramount's courtship and how they went from $19 a share to $31 a share in the bid. The trio, the people who were a part of it, were David Zaslav, Chief Revenue and Strategy Officer Bruce Campbell, and CFO, Chief Financial Officer Gunnar Windenfels. But I'm gonna be confident and probably say those the last two names were white men, who again are gonna make a shit ton of money from this. Zaslav called it whiplashy. I don't want to hear someone in charge of a company saying that. An employee called the trio's performance tenuous and timid. Oh, they're excited. They got off that. They high-fived each other, and they went to go play a round of golf poorly. One person noted that they have been watching the horror and how David Ellison's new regime at Paramount, quote, took a knife to Paramount Global staff. People are scared, and it's very true. We're going to see... Everybody should be afraid. There's not one person at Paramount, at Warner Brothers, including talent, who should be comfortable with what's happening. This next one comes from The Hollywood Reporter, written by Alex Weprin. David Ellison unveils sweeping vision for Warner Bros. Quote, "This is about reinventing the business. A monopoly is about reinventing the business." Now, this discussion came from an early Monday morning announcement talking about what Paramount Skydance wants to do with the bones that is WBD. Now, the one good thing about this deal for Warner Brothers is that they don't have to spin the company off into two different parts. Oh, okay, excuse me. Everything is going to be included. So the company is probably going to still be spun off into the Warner Bros. Studios, which is the profitable stuff, the streamer rather, HBO Max, and Warner Brothers Studios, which is the movie stuff, and then the stuff that doesn't make money, the cable, the video game stuff. That's all going to be a different company. But who knows, that Paramount's deal was to buy all of it together, so it might not be spun off. There's just news today that Versant, the spinoff company from NBC Universal that features Miss Now and the rest of their cable stuff, besides Peacock and everything that doesn't make money, they lost a bunch of money. But that was, we knew that was going to happen. Versant was never going to be any spun off company with failing assets was never going to be as successful. So now, Paramount Warner Brothers are going to consist of two film studios that are Paramount Warner Brothers. Paramount Skydance Warner Brothers. Ugh, that's what a dumb fucking name. Paramount Skydance was formed in August 2025. This is insane. So they're going to have a bunch of TV studios, including, Warner Brothers television studio that does shows like Abbott Elementary and the like. Two major streaming services, which with HBO Max and Paramount Plus. One of them is a major streaming service. A stable of, which also HBO Max is still being rolled out into Europe like this week, and they have to because they have all these agreements, and who knows what's going to happen. We know HBO Max is going to be rolled into Paramount Plus. Paramount Plus is an app that if I open it to watch Cheers or Star Trek or Matlock, it's a shame because it's trash. A stable of TV channels including CBS, TNT, CNN, MTV, Nickelodeon, and HGTV that make it a formidable player in the declining but lucrative pay TV business. And then sports, as well as TV news, CNN and CBS. Ellison wants everything to have they want, let me just read this quote because it's the most boring basic. It's like when you're on a dating app and someone's like, I want golden retriever energy. It's like, oh, so you just want like a boring white man. You have to have a mustache and tattoos. By uniting our iconic studio's complementary streaming platforms with a global footprint, our cable and linear networks, and our world-class IP, we have the opportunity to help shape the future and build a next-generation media and entertainment company. This has been our goal since day one. It's not about consolidation. It's about reinventing the business. We want to expand our reach and enhance our ability to create the world's most compelling stories and experiences, and we're incredibly excited about this transaction, and it will accelerate that ambition. He also said that HBO, he told Wall Street analysts, this is all quotes from that. He told Wall Street analysts that HBO should stay HBO and said that Casey Bloys and his team were doing a great job. But I don't see that happening. I don't even know should this deal have not gone through and Warner Brothers went with Netflix, what would Paramount Skydance have done with the likes of Showtime? Showtime is its own property, and that seems to have gone away prior to even Skydance purchasing Paramount, the Paramount subsidies. I can't see this being anywhere good in the end, and that's unfortunate. This is the worst outcome that could have possibly happened. The shareholders they think they're going to get, $650 million if this doesn't close as quickly as was planned, as slowly as was planned to. But I'm sure that by summertime this will be done, and we'll get a new name on the studio. Warner Brothers will become nothing, and Paramount Plus will be this app that has all these shows and movies, and you still can't even open it. I'm disappointed in this decision that the shareholders went with. They're chasing a dollar as opposed to chasing there's so much promised in this deal it's never going to hold true. um, David Ellison wants things like 30 movies coming out per year, and they're going to make it seem like the cable assets are going to be supported throughout. But man, I don't know. I don't think any of that's going to happen. I think Netflix would have been a nice, safe bet, and to have, a good support from. With Netflix, there would have been layoffs regardless. But I think Netflix would have just like fine-tuned what Warner Brothers is. And unfortunately, Netflix only would have bought the movie studios, the Warner Brothers Studios plus HBO Max. So that would have left the cable assets and video game stuff just sitting on the sidelines to be their own company or to be purchased, picked and pawed at. But whatever. All right, this next story comes from the New York Times. Are Bossware tools tracking you? If you're working from home, or if you just have a computer from work, which I may have just touched over here, this is written by Laura Kelly or Keeley. There's a lot of things to be considerate of when you have work issued equipment. One of the big things is what is now being referred to as Bossware. It's a term that was popularized by a 2020 report from the Electronic Frontier Foundation, a digital nonprofit, a privacy nonprofit, and has since come up in nonprofit reports and news coverage. It's the technology that some managers use to supervise and surveil employees in the workplace. This is nothing. The idea is nothing new, but the name is something that, you're putting a face to the to what people have been thinking that has been happening for the past 10 years or so. Now, the rise of AI, according to Karen Levy, a professor at Cornell and the author of Data-Driven Truckers, Technology, and the New Workplace Surveillance, said she insinuates that the rise of AI has allowed employers to, quote, monitor workers in more, quote, sorry, that was wrong. I started the wrong quote earlier, more predictive or granular ways. Some truck drivers, as she writes for an example, is there's AI augmented video tools which can trigger real-time alerts if a driver looks fatigued or is looking away from the road. In other fields and people who are working on computers, for instance, like white-collar desk jobs, employers are using algorithmic and biometric tools to track habits and output. We see this sometimes when it comes with, jiggler things where people, have to make sure that I have to stop saying, have to make sure that their computers are always getting a little bit of movement every so often so that it doesn't go to sleep and so that it looks like you're quote unquote working. You can still buy those devices. People, I knew somebody who had to take strict 30-minute lunch breaks. And she was always like stressing, like, I have to start work at 8 and I have to finish by 5 and I can only take 30-minute lunch break and I can only do this and blah, blah, blah. This is why I work in television, baby. It really took off. This Bossware stuff took off during the pandemic. There was a lot of employers who started surveilling their teams with keyboard strokes tracking and screenshots and monitoring pauses. Did I say it like that? Monitoring pauses. Now AI is really, with the rise of AI and companies are implementing this stuff in computers, it's really becoming something that is just untenable. There's a psychological toll, yes, of course. But Bossware tools that push people to work faster and harder present, quote, serious health and safety risks for workers. This comes including potential physical injury. This comes from Laura Patton, a lawyer and director at the National Employment Law Project, a workers' rights nonprofit. I think you can encourage people to work if you truly, at some point, you have to start trusting people. But then, it's okay to tamp down on people taking advantage of the lax rules, but also just expecting people to work, to sit at the computer for 8 hours a day is nonsense. All right. This is, and you know what? Even just to be safe, I know for a fact I'm not being tracked on the laptop. However, did I say where I work? I work. It's fine. Maybe I'll bleep it out. Maybe I won't. I'll probably bleep it out. I know. I know for a fact I am not being tracked, but there is software on here that is I have to, continue doing my job, because to the very least they do see that, when I go on the New York Times website. Maybe I'll bleep it out. I'll bleep out where I work. I don't need people knowing. All right, and this final one comes from CBS News. It's written by Megan Cruello. More U.S. employees are hugging tight to their jobs. Here's why. Here's another term I never knew about: job hugging. It's a new dynamic where people are just keeping their jobs. Do you remember that the last job report I talked about? Well, this is it's very important that we understand what job reports and the labor market and all that junk is. Data from ADP Research, a provider of labor market analysis, shows that workers are leaving their jobs either through quitting or layoffs at an unusually low rate. Measured by the rate of employee turnover, so-called job stickiness is a multi-year high, is at a multi-year high rather, as many workers hunker down amid significant economic uncertainty. And that's basically what the thesis of this is that we have no idea what's coming, because a president wants to start another war with Iran. There's tariffs. It's all because of him mostly. There's just a lot of uncertainty in the world. And years ago, particularly during the pandemic, when people had this freedom and wanted to find out what else was out there, they're no longer deciding to quit or to leave or to quiet. Or I guess people are quiet quitting still. We're putting names to all these fake things. But now it's important that people keep their jobs. So again, it's called job hugging. And it's most visible among white collar workers in finance, information technology, and professional business services. These are also among the industries that are most exposed to AI-driven changes in hiring, with a number of large companies attributing recent job cuts to AI. According to, you say the name once, Neil Richardson, ADP chief economist, the relatively sluggish state of the current labor market reflects a hangover from the pandemic, when robust hiring followed dramatic employment losses. The current trend also reflects a stark contrast to the period during the pandemic, informally known as the, quote, Great Resignation, when employees quit at record rates and job listings soared. That's what I just said, in more or less words. In more words. But now staying in jobs is very important. Everything is so competitive. And AI, things like AI tools and things like just companies cutting back can really affect where and when jobs are available. That's pretty much it. Because then they talk about AI. I don't want to talk about that. That's it. That's all the business, job and business news there is. We learned 2 new words today: bossware and job hugging. 2 new phrases today: bossware and jog hugging. Jog hugging. That's what I call it when my joggers are too tight. Hey, listen, if you like what you heard here, head to the website, cpluscomedy.com, where you can see most, if not all, of the interviews I've ever done. If you want to watch video versions of those interviews, go to youtube.com/cpluscomedy, where you can see most of those interviews. Where you can see video versions of this podcast as well as the other podcasts, Late Night Lately, the Late Night Show, and the Constitutionals, the Entertainment Business News Show. Follow us on social media at subscribe to the Social Media Podcast. Social media, TikTok, Instagram, Blue Sky, YouTube, C Plus Comedy, me at Chad Black White. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time. Bye.